Well, hello. Thanks for coming back to check out another video. So, we are here today to sit down and talk about a mid-year project panning recap. So, I have never done anything like this before. Typically, what I do is when I hit a goal on an item, I either just put it back into my collection, or if I finish it off, I put it into my empties bin. Then once I talk about it in an empties video, it goes into the yearly empties bin, and I don't really think about it again until the end of the year. And at the end of the year, I don't really assess like how successful was I with my project panning, and I just thought that that would be kind of fun to do. So I was really inspired to do this in two different ways. One being from Misty, because she does something very similar to this where she talks about all of the items and like which ones came from which project pans and just how, how overall is it going. And then the other thing that sparked this was in the month of June, I did a lot more of like, we'll say reflection type videos. So it was things like, here's my best and worst purchases of the year so far. Here's like my top 5, bottom 5 makeup empties. And so just all of those things combined really got me to thinking like, well, how successful am I with my project panning? Because I will put a lot of weight onto one item that I finished off if I get like a huge sense of like accomplishment out of it. And then that one item will make me feel like that whole year was just good. And I don't really look at the big picture, you know what I mean? So like when I finished off the Balm How About Them Apples cheek palette, that year to me was it was a stellar year for project panning. But I couldn't tell you anything else that I finished off that year, just that item. And so that item alone made it worth it for me. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm a numbers girl, and I just thought that this would be really fun to sit down and look at. So hopefully you guys are into that. We're gonna do this again at the end of the year, I think. And yeah, so we're gonna look at Partners in Cream, my Hardest Project Pan, Deck of Panning, and Graveyard Project Pan. I did not include the eyeshadow centered project pans because those are it's like a different ball game, you know? Maybe we could like compare all of those together, but all of those really haven't been going on all that long, with the, exception being Project Level Up. So I just didn't feel like including those in here. But either way, there will be chapters for you guys. There will also be links in the description box to like all the different playlists, to Misty's channel, things like that. I will also leave just all of the information that we talk about in today's video down in the description box too, just in case you want to read it there. I'll try to leave the information on the screen as well as we go into it. Okay, so just a brief breakdown. I have my notebook here, so I just want to briefly break down like the types of things that we're going to be talking about in this video. So one, I went through and figured out how many items have I worked on within a project pan this year, and that does include items that are currently being worked on. So like from January until I think July 8th is when July 8th is when I sat down and figured all of this out. So I'm going to call it a mid-year recap, even though I guess we're technically a little over that midway point. But either way, how many items have I worked on in total from the project pan? How many of those items you had a goal, like a usage goal or something like to hit pan? So any kind of goal other than finishing it off. How many items of those, ones that we worked on were that? How many items got taken out early from said project pan? How many items did I finish beauty versus makeup? And then I looked at it and I took the number of beauty items, just for instance, number of beauty items that I finished versus how many have been worked on, and kind of calculated a percentage off of that to see like how successful is this going for me. So that's kind of like just the overview, the breakdown of it. I did dig out all of the empties from these project pans where it's goals, like items that I have completely finished off, because I also thought it would just be a fun trip down memory lane. So we will get right on into this. Again, there are chapters, but I think we're going to start with Partners in Cream. Okay, so we'll start with Partners in Cream. So as we are sitting here today, I have worked on 23 different items that comprises beauty items and makeup items within Partners in Cream. I feel like that is a lot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this Partners in Cream has the most amount of items that I have worked on. And I think that's because since it is a completely cream-based style project pan, I tend to go through those a little bit quicker than powdered products. Now they still take a long while to finish off and like move out, but they are just a little bit easier than like powdered items for me personally. So I think that in that regard, that's why the number of this particular project pan is the highest. All right, so let's talk about number of items that were taken out early. So of those 23 items, I took out 2 items early. So at the closer to the first part of the year, I did remove a lip gloss that I was working on. It was from ColourPop. It was one of their Lux Lip Glosses in the shade Tap In. I was just over panning a brown lip gloss, so I took that out of the project pan early before hitting my goal to finish it. And then the most recent one that I took out, I had the goal to hit pan on a ColourPop Supershock Shadow in the shade Down in New Orleans, and I did not meet that. I actually decluttered that shadow from my collection because it just wasn't working out for me. It was not what I wanted at all. So, have removed 2 items early. Okay, so number of items with the goal met. So again, these are items where the goal was never to finish them. They either had like a usage goal or hit pan or something like that. So, number of items with the goal met is 0 for Partners in Cream. However, within this project pan, I've only had 2 with like usage goals attached to them, we will say. Everything else has been to finish off. So just seeing that number alone, like 0, it looks like it's an unsuccessful thing for me, but it's not. So the 2 items, one of them, like I've already said, was the ColourPop Supershock Shadow in the shade Down in New Orleans, and the goal was to hit pan, but I decluttered that from my collection. Then the one that I brought in to replace that was a ColourPop Jelly Much eyeshadow in the shade Mystical, and my goal on that is to use it 10 times. So hopefully I can meet the goal on that one. All right, so then let's talk about number of items finished. So my total number of items finished from Partners in Cream this year so far is 14. That is 9 beauty items and 5 makeup items. So I do have them here with me. Like I said, we'll do kind of like a little trip down memory lane. I'm gonna grab the beauty items and I'll first just quickly show you the 9 that I have finished off. All right, so I have finished 2 perfumes as far out of these like 9 beauty items. So the first one is the Ariana Grande Thank You Next perfume. And then I most recently finished off the Marc Jacobs Perfect perfume. Now both of these are the little like 10 ml travel sized kind of spray bottles that you can get, but they still take a long while. They last a good while. These are like my preferred method of buying like more expensive perfumes. But yeah, have finished off both of these. All right, surprisingly, when I went back through my notes, I've only finished off 1 body scrub. I felt like I had more within this project pan, but either way, this is from Fortune Cookie Soap. This was one of their like Beetlejuice themed ones when they released it. It was very heavily patchouli scented and did not like it. So the rest of these 9 empties are all body lotions. Let's quickly go over them. I have one from Soap and Glory. This was the Righteous Body Butter, very rose scented. I have 2 of the Aloe Me body like lotions from Fortune Cookie Soap. So these are the ones where it has the 2 strips of aloe vera and then the 1 strip of like their whipped body cream. So this one was a 5-ounce container and then this one was a 2-ounce container. Then I also finished off from Fortune Cookie Soap one of their like create your own scents, their CYO scents. So this was a very lovely like pancakey, blueberry pancakes. The bottle still smells like it. So good. But anyway, finished that off. And then I did finish off 2 lotions from Bath & Body Works. So the first one being the Pear Creme Brulee, and then my all-time favorite, the Sunset Glow. So like I said, I have finished off 9 beauty items from Partners in Cream, and I have worked on 10. So I am currently working on another perfume that just got rolled in. So I would say out of all of my beauty items, I have like a 90% completion rate. I was about to say satisfaction rate, like I'm rating myself. But either way, I feel like it's really successful for me to roll in body care to Partners in Cream. All right, so let's move on into the makeup that I have finished off within Partners in Cream. So again, that is 5 items in total. So the first one, do you guys remember this? This was a Super Shock Shadow from the ColourPop Sailor Moon palette in the shade Silver Millennium. I actually finished this off relatively early on in the year and forgot that I even worked on it within this project pan. So my goal was to finish it off, and you can see like a nice empty shadow pan that is very reflective in the ring light. I have also finished off 2 foundations within my Partners in Cream project pan. So the first one is the Tarte Face Tape Foundation. I had mine in the shade 16 in Fair Light Neutral, in case you were curious. And then the most recent one that I finished off was the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Foundation, which was in the shade 15 in Fair Light Neutral. Don't know why they do that. And then I did also finish off a concealer. So this is the NYX Bear With Me concealer. I have mine in the shade Light. And then the last makeup item that I have finished off within Partners in Cream is a cream blush stick from ColourPop. I believe this is a discontinued shade. However, they do still have this line of cream blush sticks. So this was the shade Hen Party, just in case you are curious. Okay, so that was the 5 items that I finished off within Partners in Cream. Now I have worked on 13 items, 13 makeup items in total within this project pan. So if we do a like percentage calculation, like how successful has this been, it comes out to 38.46%. If I say any number wrong, whatever is popping up on the screen for you guys is the more correct one. But either way, about a 38% success rate, we will say. However, I really feel like the true accurate representation would be to take out those 2 items that had the usage goals attached to them, or like just the goals, like they didn't have a finish goal to them. So then that would give us 5 makeup items finished while we've worked on 11 makeup items with the goal to finish them off. And if I'm not mistaken, that brings our percentage to 45.45%. So it's a little bit better looking at it that way. I just wanted to provide both sets of those like numbers for you guys, just in case you disagreed with me, like, oh no, it was fair to keep those with usage goals in instead of taking them out. So overall, I feel like Partners in Cream has been really successful, and I do feel like as I think back on it and really look at it, and I'm sure if I went back and watched some of my older videos, I feel like this is always the project pan where I tend to finish off the most items. So that's why I always like to participate in this particular project pan, because I do find a lot of success with it. All right, so let's move on into and talk about my hardest project pan that I'm doing. So this is my year-long project pan where I am focusing in on what I deem to be harder makeup items that I would need like the whole year to finish off. So within this project pan, I've only worked on 10 items so far, which makes sense due to the theming of that. Like, these are harder items, so there's not going to be as much of a turnover as like with something Partners in Cream where we've worked on 23 items, and I'm quite okay with that. So within my hardest project pan, I have not taken out any items early. I have, continued to work on them and push through them. And so with that, I'm really proud of myself. So speaking of that, another number that has a 0 for it is number of items within this project pan where the goal has been met. That is 0, but it's not because I haven't been successful with meeting goals within that project pan. It's because everything within that project pan has had the goal to finish it off. All right, so let's talk about number of items finished. I have not put any beauty care type items, so no skincare, body care, hair care, or anything like that into my hardest project pan. It has been a completely makeup centered project pan. So within it, I have finished off 3 makeup items so far for the year. So the first one, I even forgot that it was in that project pan. This is a pressed powder from Essence. This was their Brighten Up Banana Powder. You can see my nice shiny empty pan here. And then I did finish off one of the powdered concealers from Bare Minerals. I was working on the shade Bisque, so this is completely empty. Hopefully you can see that. And then the last makeup item that I have finished was a small little mini highlighter, we will say. So this is from Natasha Denona. This was the Diamond Bomb highlighter. I think that was the name of it. This came in a duo. It had a blush and then this highlighter. So like I said, that is 3 makeup items that I've finished off within my hardest project pan. I have worked on 10 makeup items, so that would give us a 30% success rate. I'm really happy with that because, again, it's harder items. And I feel like, too, just with the way that project pan is going, I'm going to have like a month where I have maybe 2 or 3 empties, and then we'll see a little bit more like turnover, but that's going to be at like the back half of the year. So. All right, so let's roll on in and talk about our Deck of Panning project pan. So within Deck of Panning, I have worked on 16 items in total so far this year. And I don't think I've worked on any beauty items, but of course we'll get on into that as we go throughout, like talking about the successfulness of this project pan. All you need to know is that 16 items in total have been worked on, and those are things where they had a combination of usage goals, hit pan goals, or finish off goals. Okay, so within Deck of Panning, I have taken out 1 item early. So I was working on the Sugar Drizzle Frosty Flamingo palette, specifically the shade Flamingo Baby, which was a very nice icy purpley shade. I had the goal to use it 22 times, and as we moved on into the warmer months, like I just could not be bothered to work on that shadow. So that is the only item that I have taken out early from within Deck of Panning. All right, so number of items where my goal has been met. So again, this is any type of goal other than finishing it. I have met my goal on 8 out of 9 items. So that 9th item is the Sugar Drizzle Frosty Flamingo palette that we just talked about. Now these other 8 come from different things, like I think mostly eyeshadow palettes, but it was things like, oh, use this palette and create 3 different looks, or use every shade X amount of times, or just things like that. So I have been really successful with putting items into Deck of Panning and having like a usage goal attached to them. Okay, so let's talk about number of items finished within Deck of Painting. So I was right when I went back and looked through my notebook. I have not worked on any beauty items, so like skincare, hair care, things like that within Deck of Painting. So obviously I wouldn't, if I haven't worked on any, I wouldn't finish any off, and so this would be a 0 for that category. Alright, so makeup items that I have finished off within Deck of Painting. So this first one is a setting spray from ColourPop. This was their Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Spray. Then I also finished off a concealer from Rare Beauty. I get mine in the shade 140C, just in case you were curious, and I did take the stopper out of this and try to scrape all of the product that I could off of the sides of it. And then I also finished off a lippy. So this is a Bite Beauty little mini lippy that I was gifted in a 10 set. So this was the shade No Nino, and as you can see, like nothing else rolls up out of here, but it was just this really pretty like vampy purpley shade. So 3 items finished off within Deck of Painting. Alright, so if we take these 3 makeup items and we factor them into the 16 items in total that we have worked on within Deck of Painting, that gives us a successful completion rate. Again, I'm not really quite sure what to call it, but it's 18.75%. However, much like with Partners in Cream, I didn't feel like it was fair to really count in these items where it was like, oh, I only had a goal with them, like I didn't want to finish them off. So if I remove all of those items, that actually leaves us with 7 items that we have had the goal to finish them off, like makeup-wise, within Deck of Painting. So if you do 3 into 7, you get 42.86%. So I would say that Deck of Painting has been really successful for me with meeting goals on items as well as finishing them off. Okay, so let's talk about our last project pan to wrap up this video. So it is the Graveyard Project Pan, and I did save this one for last for 2 reasons. One, it is the shortest project pan that I participate in this year, so it's only 6 months long. And then 2, it started back in April, whereas all of these other project pans started in the month of January. So while I still wanted to include this one in here, it's not as fair of a comparison, we will say, due to the length of time that it runs for versus like those other project pans. But either way, within Graveyard Project Pan, currently as of now, we've only had an introduction and a first update because we update on that every other month. So I have worked on 13 items in total within Graveyard Project Pan, and that is a combination of different makeup items and beauty items. So of those 13 items that we have worked on within the Graveyard Project Pan, I have not taken out any items early, and I am super happy to share that with you. Okay, so number of items where the goal has been met within Graveyard Project Pan. So I have had 9 items in total in Graveyard Project Pan that had some type of like goal attached to them. So like a usage goal or a hit pan goal. And of those 9, I have met my goal on 3 of those items. So I met my goal on using both of my Kaleidos Futurism eyeshadow palettes as well as my P. Louise eye base. Alright, so number of items finished. So we'll do the beauty items first. I have only finished off the 1 beauty item within Graveyard Project Pan. So this is a lotion from Bath & Body Works. This is in the scent Bonfire Bash. And this is the only beauty item that I have worked on within the Graveyard Project Pan. Alright, so let's talk about the makeup items that I finished off within the Graveyard Project Pan. So it's only 2, but again, it's a very short project. So I did finish off this little sample guide of the Urban Decay All Nighter Face Primer, and then as well as finishing off a lip gloss. Now this is the lip gloss from Partners in Cream that I took out early from that project pan, and then when Graveyard Project Pan rolled around, I decided to roll it into here. So this is the ColourPop Lux Lipgloss in the shade Tap In, and I did finish this off. I took out the stopper and scraped everything off the side. So 2 makeup items finished off within Graveyard. Okay, so like I said with the beauty items, we've only worked on this 1 lotion and we finished it. So we have a 100% successful like completion rate as far as beauty items go within the Graveyard Project Pan. All right, so if we look at the makeup, again, we finished off 2 items. So I have worked on 12 makeup items so far within Graveyard Project Pan. So if we did a percentage of that, it would be 16.67%. But again, having all 12 of those items factored into that just doesn't feel fair because I have only had 3 makeup items within Graveyard Project Pan that actually have the goal to finish them off. So if we take the 2 items that we finished and we factor it into the 3rd one that's still kicking around, that gives us 66.67% like succession rate, I believe. Yeah, 66.67%. If I have said any of these percentages wrong, hopefully you've been seeing them on the screen, and whatever has been on the screen has been the most accurate information. Don't always trust what comes out of Haley's mouth. So either way, that wraps it up though. Overall, I do feel like Partners in Cream has been my most successful this year, but again, I think that's just the nature of it. For me, it's easier to go through cream-based products quicker, and then the hardest project pan, obviously it's my hardest items. Graveyard hasn't been going on for that long, and it won't be going on for that long because it is only 6 months. And then deck of panning, with that one, I do want to cycle through because the whole fun of it is drawing new cards. So I do tend to make more usage type goals within that project pan. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little mid-year recap. Let me know down below if you think that I forgot to include anything, and then we can include it when we do this again at the end of the year. Let me know also too what you think your most successful project pan has been that you've been participating in this year. And again, I thank you so much for sticking it out until the end. I hope you're having a good day, a good night, or a good whatever, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.